I actually really like this explanation of autism as a prediction deficit. I thought that really explained quite well a lot of like the sensory issues that I had when I was younger, like the water phobia, um, or like rigidities and restrictive behaviors, like going to Kenny Rogers all the time, and even like my fascination with like dinosaurs, because I think these all offer me like some level of predictability when my routines were being disrupted, when I was no longer able to interact with my dinosaurs, then I'll get scared, meltdown, all that. And I think that really makes a lot of sense if you see the environment as a very chaotic, unpredictable place.
Welcome to Shared Steps, the RDI Journey. I'm Genevieve. Here we explore real conversations and meaningful insights about supporting neurodivergent children and families. Today we're speaking with two young adults who have grown up with RDI. This episode looks at what happens when children grow into adults who trust themselves because they were guided, not pushed. So Jay and JSJ, thank you for joining us today. So Jay, maybe you can tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, so I am JSJ's older brother, and I am now in my fourth year of university, and I'm also currently studying psychology.
JSJ, what about you?
Hi, I am Jay's younger brother, and I'm currently in university, studying my first year right now.
So Jay, you were very young when you finished with the RDI program. So I know there are a lot of things that you don't recall. But do your parents ever talk to you about what it used to be like back then?
Actually, I've heard a lot of stories about how my parents would have to be very, I think the word is persistent in sticking to and adhering to the RDI program. So I think one story that I remember is my struggles with like dietary requirements. I think my mom, she would, when we went traveling, she would have to bring a rice cooker around so that I could eat rice in like Western countries where they don't really have like Asian options that are not so readily available as well. I think that was one. And I also recall when I used to have to eat like mac and cheese every Sunday at Kenny Rogers, and my parents would have to like oblige me as well in that area for like I think a year. Can't really remember. Yeah, so I think those were some anecdotes that I found really quite funny also. I think the one that that I also recently learned of was my struggle to approach water. That one I didn't really know until quite recently. Like, I think after you were sharing with me, show me the video also, and I guess I also saw how my mom had to slowly like scaffold the whole process from like bringing me talking about water, touching a bit of water, then to like the more advanced stages of asking me to wash the car with my dad, and then like occasionally like letting some water splash onto me and letting me realize that it's okay for it to happen. Yeah, so those are just some of the stories that I recall.
So when you look back at things now, are there things that you notice about how you learn and how you related to people that now makes more sense to you as a psychology student?
I think from these anecdotes, I have also started to see some patterns, and I think because now I'm in my final year doing my thesis, I think I've also been reading a bit more on autism and like what are some of the things that underlie it. And now I actually really like this explanation of autism as a prediction deficit. So it says that like those with autism, they struggle to predict their environment based on incoming sensory information. And that also leads to issues in being able to respond and adapt with this environment. And I thought that really explained quite well a lot of like the sensory issues that I had when I was younger, like the water phobia, or like rigidities and restrictive behaviors, like going to Kenny Rogers all the time. And even like my fascination with like dinosaurs, because I think these all offer me like some level of predictability that I may not get from the environment normally. But I think it also really explained for me why I think generally there's a lot of fear that is also associated with autism, like when my routines were being disrupted, when I was no longer able to interact with my dinosaurs, then I'll get scared, meltdown, all that. And I think that really makes a lot of sense if you see the environment as a very chaotic, unpredictable place. Yeah, so that's some things that I think I've learned recently also.
Yeah, and I think that's a fantastic way to view it and a fantastic way to look at it. Because for a lot of people living with autism, that's exactly it, right? When you see the world as being chaotic, you feel the need to control. And when you lose control, then that's where things become challenging.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. Yeah.
JSJ, you're currently part of an RDI group. What kinds of things do you do during the group?
I think some things that we learn right now are how to approach situation with awareness as well as how to view it objectively. I think one thing that I really learned and I really like is how to see a situation from different perspectives such that it's not just about you, but then there could be others involved as well.
How do you feel these sessions are helping you with your daily living and your life in during university?
Think it gave me a sense of goals to work on as I approach university right now. And I think it's helped me to give me more confidence as I interact with people. I mean, there are still sometimes where I feel like, oh yeah, why are these people still talking so much and I'm here so quiet? But I feel less of that now compared to like last time. But I feel like these things that I learned in RDI, they help me to feel better about myself. They help me to tackle situations in a better way, or should I say, a more effective way, so that such that I won't melt down and blame myself for everything, but instead objectively view it from many perspectives and try to pinpoint what could be the possibilities of that situation. So I think it really helped me, not just university, I think also even in situations outside school, maybe even like social gatherings, I had situations where I had to like talk to people and yeah, I don't know how to like approach it or I don't know how to jump in a conversation. And then some of these tips that helped me, it gave me tips like, oh, make sure you listen instead of worrying what to say. And I think it helped me a lot. It helped me to not keep like being stuck on what I can contribute to the conversation, but instead I'm thinking of how can my words add value to it.
So Jay, how would you describe your relationship with JSJ as you were growing up?
I was watching some old videos actually like just a few days ago. I think as children, I'm talking about like 3 to 4 years old, five like really kindergarten age. I would say me and JSJ, we were really close. But I think as we grew older and I think we both went into I think when around the time I went into post-secondary education and JSJ was in secondary, then I think we drifted apart a bit because our interests they started to diverge. I think I started to like different things and he had his own interests and we also had less in common. So I think we just didn't have much things to talk about. And I think there were also some friction between the both of us along the way. And but I think as we now in this stage when we are both in uni, and I think we have also both matured enough to see beyond common interests, and now I think our relationship has also grown stronger as well. Now we are just like supporting each others as brothers as well. Yeah.
And speaking of support, I know that you do some video clips to help JSJ with some of his goals and objective. So what has that experience been like for you?
Again, I think it's been nice to get a chance to talk to JSJ because usually he doesn't proactively strike up conversations with me. And I think when we first started, it was a bit awkward. And I think we were both getting used to this whole recording, talking to each other while being recorded. But I think as we both got used to it, I would say that it has gotten much better, and I do find these conversations really engaging as well, because I also get a chance to hear more about JSJ's life, and I get to hear some of his perspectives, his struggles, and I also get to share some of my comments as well. And I think sometimes the convos will continue even beyond the recording, like after it has been stopped, because we just get so engaged in that conversation. So I think it's been quite an interesting experience so far.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's great. I'm glad to hear that the conversations even continue after the recording. What about for you, JSJ? What has this experience been like for you to have your brother be one of the guides that helps you do your homework?
I think at first, like Jay said, it was really awkward. Like we didn't know how to approach this video because I think it was our first time and we were like pretty lost and clueless about how do we orchestrate it. But I think as time went on and we did more and more clips, I think the interactions got slightly better with each take. And I can just feel that our differences are starting to pull us together in a way. And because of that, I feel like Jay and I have got a little bit closer, if I would say that. And I would say I had fun because I get to hear how Jay shares with me about his life, and as I share to him about life and what his take, what his advice for me is for that, like for my life situation or anything that I talk to him about. I think it's just really helpful to have an older brother that would guide me, who would mentor me on what I did right and what I could have done better. I think it's just a great guide leadership to help me navigate through life, even though it's tough. Yeah, I really enjoyed those times where I got to talk with Jay.
So, Jay, as someone who's studying psychology, what are some of the observations you've made as you've had these experiences in guiding JSJ?
I think I've noticed a few things about um JSJ as he has like grown. Like the earlier on listening to some of what he experienced about the sessions, I do resonate and I do agree with the things that he said. I also do feel that JSJ has been learning to be more intentional in his convos with people, like what he said just now about being more aware of what he's doing in social situations. And I think this also allows him to be more curious about others. And I think I also mentioned before, when we first started, it was awkward because I did get a sense that JSJ was just trying to get this task over and done with. So I was also trying to see how I could like fit into that. But I think as we both got more accustomed to it, then I start to see that he starts to approach conversations with more intention. Like he would think about what he wants to say. Like he would try and recall something that he knows is happening in my life, like my projects or my exam. Then he'll ask me about those experiences, and I can tell that he is curious to know more about my life. So I think that is what I mean by like him being more intentional. And if not, he would also be very intentional in the experience. Maybe he's one of his own experiences that he would want to share with me. And I would, because he's already so intentional in sharing these things with me, I would have a pretty good time listening to his experience and also sharing my comments as well. And actually, I think outside of these sessions, I've also been seeing how JSJ has now also started to see beyond his own needs and to look to the needs of others. And like for example, like I would hear my mom telling me of how JSJ is helping her with the chores when he notices that she's tired, or I think even giving encouragement to his peers in church as well. And I think this also goes to show that he has been growing in this intentionality and in being able to look out for others. And I think I've also realized that he now JSJ he is also very intentional in mentalizing, which would be the act of trying to understand others' mental states. So actually, I remember there was once he was sharing that I found it quite funny. He was trying to understand why I was like scratching during one of the more recent sessions, and he was saying that I was anxious, but actually I was just very itchy. But I think this also like shows me that JSJ is increasingly focused on learning to understand and empathize with others based on like these non-verbal um body languages. And I've also heard more and more anecdotes of moments when he adjusted his responses within a social situation based on what he thinks his partner is feeling, and like changing the subject when he senses like his conversation partner is not interested, or he like asking more questions so that the convo is not just about him. And I think that being able to apply what he knows from his mentalizing shows that JSJ has come quite far in this area. Yeah, so I thought that was really good.
So, JSJ, how does it make you feel to hear your brother talk about you this way?
Honestly, if I look at myself a few years ago and imagine this, I would be like, there's no way I'm actually going to hit that. That's just way too far. But I guess it turned out to be quite possible. Man, I think just hearing Jay talk about all these like different anecdotes, different experiences, different remarks of how of different examples that he quoted lah, and I'm quite shocked to see how many he could actually quote. I didn't know that I had so much to contribute after all those RDI sessions. And I did agree with Jay on one point, which is that I'm focusing a lot on intentionality. Yeah, I can see that really starting to really like come out of me. And
Mhm.
and I think maybe sometimes maybe a little too much intentionality where I would help someone even though they don't need it.
From what your mom says, definitely your strong suit is your kindness and your compassion towards others. And speaking of your parents, what role do you think your parents played in guiding both of you to grow the way you have in terms of your values and your thought processes?
One thing that my parents were very good at doing was to always like show us that they were on our side. And I mean, I guess that could be seen in how they would always go the extra mile for both of us, and to show us that just wanted to support us. So I think like both me and JSJ can list many examples of like moments when they have done that. Like I mean, adhering to the whole RDI process is something that requires that as well. And I think when they were able to do that, that also showed us that we can trust in them. Another way of saying it would be to we learned that we could trust our parents through the actions that they did, and that allowed them to show that they were on our side lah. And I think because of this, JSJ and myself, we would allow them to input in our lives and to guide us through some of the tougher moments. Like for myself, maybe it would be my exam periods, because I remember how my mom would actually wake up early in the morning, make me a cup of coffee, and drive me to school when I was sick as well. And I think that really showed me that she was on my side, and that she would really go the extra mile for me. And I think this is just one of many experiences that have helped me to really build that trusting relationship with her, and also to then confide in her when I need to. And I think there are many moments in my life when my mom has also then also been able to support me in these things. I think JSJ could say the same as well. Yeah. So I would say actually what they did was is really what is at the core of RDI. They were effective guides that were effective because of that relationship of trust that has been built over the years through their actions.
Well put. JSJ, what about you?
I think for me it would be my mom's perseverance in always trying and not giving up. Like back in my primary school days, I remember her telling me the story of how it was a difficult process to get me into primary school, getting me into public school back then. which had like a limited limited slots, and I somehow managed to get in, even though many thought it was not possible. But and because I got in, I managed to prosper over my primary school and then into secondary school. I think that's just one aspect of my mom that I would like to comment. Another thing I also would like to say is I think it's the element of structure. Like I really enjoy structures, and structures give me like a sense of what's coming next, what is coming later. It's very predictable, and it's easy for me to get it in my head and know what's coming next. And she did this in quite a lot of aspects, like how much we spend, how long we play games on the iPad or stuff like that, or even how how much time do we spend eating. She even has a or like, oh, you cannot be spending more than 2 hours eating, then something else is that, if not, then something is wrong with you. Yeah, stuff like that. These small little things are, I think, elements of my mom that really gave us the skills that we have.
JSJ, what do you find challenging about having to work in groups or having to work in teams? And what has helped you get through these things?
I think it helped me to be less quiet and to be more contributive to whatever my teammates were pitching, whatever ideas that my teammates were pitching, and to also be more accountable in whatever I do. And I think that helped me to have more ownership of the projects that I'm in. Yeah, to make sure that my peers don't see me as someone who is like a lazy dog, someone who doesn't help with the team and stuff like that. But I think all in all, RDI helped me to also make me feel more confident when I talk about my ideas to, like, let's say the project team. And a big part of that is to know when to jump in. Like, let's say they're discussing an idea, and then I want to know, oh, do I jump in now or do I jump in later? Most of the time, I would like jump in at the wrong time, but then somehow I jump in at the right time again. But I think either way, I think this is one part that helped me to tackle projects.
You were more intentional in how you decided when to join in the conversation, when to share your thoughts. So, JSJ, is there a moment when you did RDI that made you think about yourself a little bit differently?
It was during the period where I had my first part-time job, and I remember coming to each session, sharing a lot. I think going through that period, I just felt that I was becoming more confident about myself in what I could do, my abilities, and also embracing challenges, because during that part-time job there was so many challenges, so many different obstacles that I had to face, and I managed to somehow conquer like most of them. And I was encouraging myself with each session, remind me, hey, you got this, you just need to keep trying and don't give up.
And I think a lot of things I remember about you is that you have faced a lot of challenges in your life. From as early as when you had to buy the cai peng, the mixed rice. There was
I
a
remember
challenge.
that.
What do you remember about that, Jay?
I just remember a lot of times we sometimes we wonder why the cai fan is so expensive, and sometimes we start to wonder, is it they overcharge him because he doesn't want to approach them, as in he's not like talking in the way that they are expecting, or like he's not very outspoken, not very loud. I mean, like when you order cai fan, that you need to be loud, otherwise they can't hear you. I'm not too sure why they did that, but I think that was just one of them. I think it took a lot of effort for JSJ to even reach the stage of going up to the cai fan vendor to order on his own. I think I remember a few years ago, it used to be that I would go down with JSJ and he would watch me order. But when I asked him whether he want to order, he would be very scared. He didn't want to order. So I think JSJ has come a long way since then. And I think even now, like when I hear him speaking Chinese at home, I can hear, oh, his pronunciation is quite accurate also. But I do remember those days when I don't want to go and order JSJ, why don't you go? But now it's like we can just take turns to go and order because he's not afraid of this anymore. So I think that's good.
Yes, yeah, that has been
Yeah.
good. And I think that's one thing that has marked JSJ's growth is that he has managed to overcome a lot of challenges in his life. So Jay, how do you think your early experiences has shaped your decision to study psychology?
I think a lot of my early experiences were actually working with you as well. Not just as a child, but I think as even when I came back to volunteer as a secondary student, I think that's one aspect of it. The other aspect is also seeing how you have continued to work with my family. So I think the for the first aspect, I did get a sense of what it would be like to support people that have walked a similar path as I did. And I found that to be quite meaningful as well. Yeah, and definitely being able to appreciate that it is not easy, but I think yeah, I think it's still important to be able to give back in that way for myself. And for the second aspect, I think seeing how you have continued to support not just myself or JSJ, but also my mom. I guess it also showed me that it's important to learn how to be able to work with the community that the people you want to help are embedded in, not just the person. And I think wanting to know more about this, the how to support the context that the people you want to help are in, I think that also kind of led me to want to learn more about psychology as well. And I think definitely after spending these years in psychology, I have a deeper understanding now about all these things, like a better appreciation of autism, a better understanding of the networks that an individual is embedded in, and like all these interactions, how they interact with each other. And yeah, I think that's how they have shaped my interest in psychology.
And I think even as a child, when you came back to volunteer, I could already see it in you that you had a very natural connection for a lot of the kids that we were working with. And I saw that in how you handled when the kids were facing, or for that matter, kids and youth were facing challenges. I remember one of the boys, he was having a challenging time, and you didn't say anything to him, you didn't go and talk a lot to him. And what you did was you just tossed the ball to him, and then he tossed it back at you. And you actually very easily started a co-regulation with him. I'm not sure if back then you knew that was a co-regulation and that helps with regulating the person, but it's what you seem to be able to do very naturally and very intuitively.
Wow. No, I think I don't even remember that, but I can assure you that that was definitely not what was going through my head back then.
What would you say to parents or siblings that are currently going through the same process that you are going through or have been through with JSJ?
I think the first thing would be I would definitely want to acknowledge that it is not easy. It is not a short process. It will definitely be a long process. It can be very tiring as well. I mean, I'm just basing this off what I see in my own family, like how my parents also had to go through this as well. But I think the most important thing would be to not give up and to just keep persevering. Our parents, they really just kept persevering in various areas of our life when they were trying to support us as well. I think that reminds me of another anecdote about JSJ. This is about the when our mom had to stand with you at the lift for 1 hour because you wanted to take the lift, but mom didn't want to let you take the lift. So y'all had that like stand still for an hour there. And I think that is a very good anecdote that highlights the perseverance and not giving up that is really important for this whole process. But I think another thing that I've also recently learned from I think some of the psychology mods I've been taking is that small wins are still wins. Even if things are not going smoothly, like it seems like it's going downhill, there will still be those moments that will surprise you, like, oh, I didn't expect this could happen. And I think the important thing is to not let your own expectations of what progress and how what you envision for your kid or your sibling to get to in the end, that should not like get in the way of catching these moments, because these moments are also signs of progress as well.
And that's such a nice point to make, that these small wins, and it's these small moments that actually build up to the person being able to build resilience and confidence in themselves.
Yeah.
So, JSJ, what would you say to youth, young adults who are still learning to navigate social and emotional challenges?
I think one thing I would say is talk it out with your parents and let them know what you're really going through. Yeah, I'll be more than happy to guide you on what could be the possibilities. I think it's really good to have someone mentoring beside you, like a parent or guardian, to talk you through over what happened and how they can help you, how they can support you, or how they can find external help. Another advice I would also like to give is keep trying. Don't give up. I know life is really not easy, and I experienced it myself. There's just so many types of people, and honestly, I don't really know how to deal with most of them. Some people like to talk loudly, some like to always be humorous, like joke a lot, like to play with you a lot, while some are like very quiet. I understand it is a challenge, and it's not easy, but I think one way I've found to tackle this effectively is to keep things neutral. Don't escalate, don't pressure the person, like give the person space, give the person time to like respond, react. Don't rush the person. Like let the person have their own time and space to think about their thoughts, process over what has been said. That will help a lot in many conversations. It might not work all the time, but there's no harm giving it a shot. The saying goes, you want to be better at something, you have to try. Failing is completely normal.
That's
Wow.
Yeah, that's right. We
No,
learn a lot more from failure, right?
what doesn't kill you make you stronger.
Exactly. If you could describe success from your point of view in terms of what you have experienced, what JSJ has experienced, what would success look like for both of you?
Firstly, is to acknowledge that we will always have room for improvement. There will always be areas in our life that we would like to work on, whether it be with regards to like social skills or stress tolerance or whatever it is. So with that in mind, I would say that I think for us, success would be in working towards like what our parents did with us, to build a sibling relationship that is founded on trust. And cause like I think I mentioned just now, I think there was a period when our relationship wasn't very good, and I think in those times when I would try to give feedback or advice, I think he would not take it very well. I think he would perceive it as me being condescending or judgmental. And because I also didn't have a good relationship with him, I did not know, or I also did not approach giving this advice in the best way as well. And I think that interplay of both these things usually did not end productively for either of us. Now that our relationship is like much better, I would say that now JSJ is able to trust that when I say something, I'm just trying to support him. And because he trusts me, I can input into his life. And so I would say it's pretty similar to how I understand RDI to work. So like being girded by that strong parent-child relationship. And when this relationship, this trust is there, and like I said earlier, we will always have areas in our life to improve on. But I think with this as the foundation, could just slowly tackle these things together one by one. Lah.
JSJ, what are your thoughts on what does success look like for you?
I think mine would be similar to what Jay said. Small wins are wins itself. Value the small wins, and yeah, you can even treat that as little successes. Like every small achievement, every small improvement, every small breakthrough, celebrate it. Maybe it might not be very significant, but every small growth will lead to a big growth. Yeah, that's what success means to me. I also think that don't be afraid to try something you never done before. You never know what that could lead to. That might be your next success. I think I did something like that in my job hunt, during my school breaks where I went to try a part-time job. I had many successes, and it all came down to a big success, which was my improved confidence.
Thank you for sharing. Okay, to finish off, do you all have any final suggestions, thoughts that you would like to leave our listeners with?
To sum up, it will be a long process, but there's no rush. I think one of the best things that my mom has said that she took away from the whole process was patience and learning to take things slower, and I think also like what JSJ said, also to appreciate the small successes. I think she also told me last time how she had to take time to get used to talking in like an exaggerated manner, going from can you go there to Jay, can you please go there? I mean that kind of like forces you to take a step back and really kind of just sit in that moment, and I think really just in a way even enjoying the process, because I think actually sometimes it's not really about the outcome but also about how you get there. And I think that's why RDI also takes care of that by ensuring that the process, the vehicle by which you get there, which is the relationship, stays intact and stays strong. So I think it's really just enjoying these moments that you spend together with your loved ones as well, and being patient about the whole thing.
I will also say have patience when you talk to them. For me, as someone who went through autism, I know and I can understand why sometimes people take longer to respond, why sometimes people may keep repeating the same thing over and over again. Sometimes the repetition could be what they need to regulate themselves or something they need to stimulate themselves. It's not bad if you see something like that in your children or your youth. It could be something that they are just used to, and maybe you might just have to adapt to it. If you can enjoy the process of RDI and let everything go like clockwork, celebrate the small successes, manage each weakness with like, wait, how should I say this? Each weakness can be a strength. Let's say your child cannot socialize or your child doesn't like to be in groups. You can start out with maybe like family, like start talking to your child or youth. Just find out more about their lives, and then slowly you'll begin to appreciate your children or youth better. And one last thing is autism is not a label. It's just a different way of thinking. We look alike like other people, like the society, but we may think different, but we can integrate in society. We don't deserve to be mistreated. And I'm sorry for I'm sorry on behalf of those who have been mistreated in social situations or have been left out of social situations. You just need to try again. Maybe the next social situation, you can try a different approach or try a different topic, stuff like that.
Thank you both for joining us today. It has been a real pleasure and very insightful to hear from both of you.
It has been a pleasure for me as well. Yeah.
Thank you, Auntie Jen.
Thank you for joining me on this episode of Shared Steps, the RDI Journey. If you found today's conversation meaningful, I'd love for you to follow or subscribe so you won't miss the next episode. And if you know a parent or professional who might benefit from understanding RDI a little deeper, please share this podcast with them. Every small step helps us spread awareness across Southeast Asia and beyond. Thanks for listening, and I look forward to having you with me in the next episode.